It is indeed an honor and a pleasure for me to be here this morning on many different levels, and I certainly will touch upon those this morning as we speak. But I know that there are at least 4 states represented. I'm just interested, always interested to see when we have visitors coming into West Virginia. So how many people do we have here from Virginia? Okay. Well, understand that you're welcome to come back and join West Virginia again whenever you would like to do that. And how many people do we have here from Tennessee? Okay, terrific. Kentucky? Oh, big Kentucky crowd, all right. And our West Virginia crowd? Great, and I understand there may be a few people here from Alabama. Okay, well that's all right. Understand that Nick Saban belongs to West Virginia. Just understand. And actually that kind of ties in when Joe was governor. He used to say to people all the time that there were those of us that were lucky enough to be born in West Virginia, and then there were those who were smart enough to move to West Virginia. But let me be perfectly clear, if you visit here, you are automatically a mountaineer. So here in this meeting, we are all West Virginians. So glad to have you with us. Helen Keller said, "Alone we can do so little. Together, we can do so much." And I know that that has sort of been the theme and framework, not only of this meeting, but I think probably what you have been doing in your separate capacities throughout your work. And so I know I'm preaching to the choir when I say how important that what we do individually is so small compared to what we can do collectively. And I think that the stars aligned and that sort of put Randy Weingarten and I together. Randy Weingarten is the president of the AFT nationally, and sort of must have brought us together at a time when I knew that in several areas of West Virginia we were really struggling. And her message across this country, which I still find really energizing, is solution-based unionism. You know, it's so easy to talk about what's wrong with something and what we don't like, but to ask somebody to come up with a solution, if you don't like the way something is being done, rather than just protesting it or shouting about it, why don't we look for the solution that's going to solve the problem, or at least to get us headed in a different direction. And that really was inspiring to me, because I thought that's what we all should be doing. Certainly in the field of education, and I'm sure you've heard it, I think there's a great frustration across this country with public education right now, and I think part of the frustration is that it's so easy to point fingers. It's easy for parents to say, well, it's the teacher's fault that my kids are not getting the education they deserve. And the teachers would say, well, it's the parents' fault because they're not doing at home what they need to do. And the business community say, well, it's everybody's fault because we don't have a skilled workforce for the jobs of the 21st century. A much better conversation is, as a teacher, what is my role and responsibility in building the strongest, best educated child I can build? As a parent, my question is, as a parent, what can I do, not only to ensure that my child receives the best education, but that every child in our community, in our school, is getting the best resources and opportunities. And the business community should be saying, what can I do to help inspire and instill in these students the importance of them getting a good education, because we can give them a good job if and when they graduate with the skill sets that they need. So again, that goes back to, if we were all sitting around this table talking about what we can do, how much more productive than talking about what we aren't doing. And so I salute each and every one of you, because you have been part of a journey for us here in West Virginia. And so Randy Weingarten and I connected, and I told her a story about McDowell County in West Virginia, and we have someone here from McDowell County. McDowell County was a proud, wealthy community at one time when coal was booming. And then the landscape changed in many ways. And the coal industry, the boom, left McDowell County. Not necessarily that coal wasn't still being mined and sold, but machinery took over a lot of the work that had been done by people. And so there was an economic decline. People left the area and went elsewhere to find work. Those that stayed struggled. And so we're talking about decades, not a few years or a few months. And when I became a member of the State Board of Education, I realized down the road that McDowell County, if a school becomes so low performing, the state steps in and takes that county over, and they literally run everything. And so we had taken over McDowell County, and I mean, I'm really embarrassed to say this, but 10 years later, McDowell County wasn't any better off being run by the state than it had been being run by McDowell County. And so my question was, why don't we just give it back? You know, we're not doing anything that they weren't doing. But here was the problem. The problem was that we kept thinking the problem was the schoolhouse. If we replace the principal, things will get better. If we replace the superintendent, things will get better. If we bring in, do more professional development with teachers, the school will get better. Now, you would think in 10 years, educators would finally come to the conclusion that doing the same thing year after year and hoping for different results doesn't work. Educators are slow. You know, it took us a while to get that message. Anyway, we realized that this was bigger than a school issue. This was a community issue. And when we talk about it takes a village to raise a child, the question becomes, who raises the village? Where is that community support that's going to provide the resources needed that children so desperately need in order to succeed in school? I mean, we all know that a child that comes to school hungry, tired, neglected, abused, is not going to succeed in the classroom. Those wraparound services become critical to supporting that child, particularly in a county where 46% of its children do not live with biological parents. They're being raised by grandparents, by another relative, by foster parents, and some are sleeping wherever they can find a place to sleep. And we are saying to these children, you need to learn to read and do math, graduate from high school. And until we really joined forces and realized that this was a very encompassing issue, that we needed lots of partners if we were going to change the landscape of McDowell County. And so that's how Reconnecting McDowell became a reality. And we started at the beginning, we joke about, Randy and I joke that, well, my people will call our people and your people should call your people and we'll get something going here. Well, you know what, we did. And now at about 125 partners strong, we're doing some really amazing things in McDowell County. I think at the very least, we are starting to build hope where there was hopelessness. Unfortunately, during the 1960s, when the war on poverty came into being, there were a lot of excellent programs out there, great ideas, great ways to lift up communities. And so many of those programs came to McDowell County. Unfortunately, as the program expired or the money ran out, so did the people in the program. And so that's where hopefully you learn, your lessons learned, is that you can't come in and put upon a community a program or be the salvation for a community or a state. You have to come in and you have to join forces with the community, help build and support the community, have their voice at the very beginning of the process, have their buy-in, and realize that whatever you do, it has to be sustainable, which again goes back to the importance of having partners rather than trying to work alone. And so one of the things that we knew in McDowell County is that it's very difficult to recruit and retain teachers. Difficult to recruit because it's a very isolated, rugged, rural area of West Virginia. You could say that's the good news, and the bad news, it is one of the most beautiful areas of West Virginia when you think of the rugged mountain landscape. But then that also becomes the challenge to people coming in. The second challenge is once you recruited them, where were they going to live? There was no, not just affordable housing, there was just not any housing. And so we have videos where young teachers that had come in full of energy and excitement about helping children and working with children in McDowell County, and she found herself living in a trailer on top of a mountain, isolated with no one around her. I wouldn't want my daughter in that situation. And so obviously she didn't stay long, and so we knew at the crux of this, when we were addressing school systems, that if we were going to recruit and retain teachers in McDowell County, there had to be housing. And so this dream came out of Randy Weingarten, the AFT, and the people here in West Virginia that were working with her. If we could build a teacher's village in downtown Welch, because we know that education and economic development go together. Success breeds success. If we could build, we could have a new building in McDowell County that would sort of inspire maybe other economic development, and also prove to a community that has been attended to and left many times that we were in for the long haul. That the commitments that are made by the partners that join Reconnecting McDowell is this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. This is an ongoing 5-year project, at least. And so people that have joined us in this work understand that this is not 6 months in and then off to another project. So this whole concept, this wonderful concept and dream, if we could build a teacher's village in Welch, West Virginia, what would that do? What would that mean to this part of West Virginia? You know, dreams are wonderful things. And it makes you smile to dream and think about, boy, if we could do this. But until that dream becomes a reality, you really can't move forward. And so it is with great gratitude that I say to Fahe, thank you for allowing a dream to become a concept and then a reality. We had a ribbon cutting just a few months ago on land we've purchased. Best Buy furniture store was on that property, and the consulting work and the commitment and the dedication by Fahe to bring us every option, every opportunity. If you save the building and renovate the building, this is the cost, this is what it means, this is what you get. If you demolish the building and build a new structure, this is what it is, this is what it costs, this is what it means. You know, all those things that take a concept and put a foundation and a framework on paper that says this is what can be done. But even Fahe realizes that this is not a silo. So Fahe works with the Housing Authority. You know, they have partners at both the national and state, local level, and again, that's what builds their success, is their ability to interact then with foundations, with HUD, with senior programs. You know, you think about it as a wheel with spokes. It is about housing, but then it's how does that housing connect with education? How does that housing connect with seniors? How does that housing connect with healthcare? And in fact, an important thing that we realized was that it is about teachers, and this would be a teacher village. It would be approximately 30 apartments that would be built over top of the first floor, which would be retail space, a little cafe, a computer, a media lab that could be used by the residents, but also public coming in, maybe a workout area, something that would allow socialization with people that live in the apartments. But, you know, what about the pharmacist that comes in and works at Walmart? What about the nurse that is hired and comes in and works at the emergency hospital in Welch? And so we realized that while the original dream was about teachers, it was the bigger dream of building a professional community in McDowell County. And so the name then became the Renaissance Village. So this will be professional housing. So I probably have drawn this out longer than I needed to, but you had to, you know, I wanted you to appreciate that there were many directions that we could have gone, and things that maybe would have been as inspirational for this county and for this state to see what is happening in McDowell County. We have a program that provided every middle student in McDowell County a laptop. Doesn't belong to the state, doesn't belong to McDowell County, belongs to that student. We have increased the broadband capacity and the internet connectivity in McDowell County. There was a time that if the security system was turned on in the high school, everything else shut down, so computers wouldn't work. There was a time in not the too distant past that the only internet system in McDowell County was dial-up. Dial-up in this day and age. So now we have over 10,000 homes have access to internet, high-speed internet in McDowell County. Think about what that does for the families, for the children, for the possibilities. And so these mountains that were at one time barriers, these children can go to the top of the mountain now and see the world. And because of another partner, another program, a program was started this year called Broader Horizons for juniors in high school, connects them with a mentor that they work with regularly. It gave them the opportunity to come and spend a week here in Charleston. It also gave them the opportunity to spend a week in Washington, D.C. You don't know what you don't know. These children have got to be able to see what's out there in this world to know what they can dream and what they can want to be. Because of the partnerships that have been created, these types of programs are now thriving and growing in McDowell County. And there are many more to come. And we continue our efforts not only to secure financial, in-kind, expertise, experience, all those types of ways that partners can be involved. So it's not only my appreciation to you for what Fahe has allowed us to dream and now are beginning to make a reality, but it's also my message to you that don't ever forget how important Fahe's connections and interactions are to many other organizations across this country. It's how you work with these foundations and organizations that allow you to be all that you are to these local, county, and state projects that are sustainable. You know, at the end of the day, it is about that sustainability. I believe, and Bob Brown, who I would really be remiss if I did not introduce Bob Brown, who runs the state Reconnecting McDowell program. Bob. Every day, he sees what is happening because of the partnerships, because of the ability to network, and how we were sharing the story this morning about how interesting how Bob became aware of Fahe. You know, isn't it amazing that a group that does so much for so many, and yet there are so many people out there that maybe still don't know what Fahe is. And so Bob was at a conference, networking, how important is that? And met someone that knew someone, and the next thing he knew, there we were, working together. It is a wonderful opportunity. Those of you that are in this room, I hope you appreciate what you do and what you are allowing communities across these 4 or 5 states to accomplish. You know, there is another saying, and I always hesitate when I start trying to quote something out of my brain because that's scary. But to the world, you may be very insignificant, but to one person, you may be the world. And I hope you appreciate in the work that you do, that you do become the world to groups out there that think they only have the dream, that they may never be able to make it a reality. And through the efforts of organizations like Fahe, you do make those dreams a reality. Thank you so much, not only for being here in West Virginia, for being good mountaineers, but thank you for the support that you have given us that allows us then to support our children and our families and our communities, not only in McDowell County, but across West Virginia and across rural America. 1 in 5 children that graduate from high school comes from rural America. We cannot forget those children. Thank you so much.